Hello, my favorite mathematicians, and welcome to 1.7 Converting Fractions to Decimals. Our essential question today is, how do I change a fraction into a decimal? The supplies we're going to need to answer today are our writing utensil, our math notebook, that growth mindset, and of course some determination. And hopefully with those things, by the end of this video, you will be able to confidently say, I can convert a fraction into a decimal. Let's just jump right in and talk about what a fraction is exactly. Well, a fraction is simply a way of writing a division problem. So fractions and divisions go together hand in hand. What I mean by that is when we have the fraction 2/5, that is 2 out of 5. It's the same as saying 2 divided by 5. Just like when we have 3/4, we're saying 3 out of 4 or 3 divided by 4. So in order to convert a fraction to a decimal, you need to take that numerator, the number on top, and divide by the denominator or the number on bottom. So we're just going to jump right in and practice that today. Let's convert. We're going to start with that first example that I talked about, 2/5 or 2 divided by 5. And here's what that's going to look like. We're going to say 2 divided by 5. Well, 5 does not go into 2. But we all know that when we have a whole number, we can also write that with a decimal followed by 0. So 2.0. Now I can kind of look at this as how many times will 5 go into 20? But before I answer that question, let's go ahead and take care of our decimal, and it's just going to go straight up to the top. So now, how many times does 5 go into 20? You got it. It goes 4 times. And 5 times 4 is 20. Our next step is to do some subtraction here. And 20 minus 20 is 0. And so that means we are finished with this division problem. And 2/5 is 0.4. Okay, we're just doing some simple division here. Let's go ahead and look at that other example that I mentioned earlier, 3/4, which is 3 divided by 4. Let's get that one set up. And same idea here, 4 does not go into 3, but we know we can rewrite that as 3.0 and kind of view it as 30. Let's take that decimal and do the same thing we just did in that last example and go ahead and float it to the top. And now we ask ourselves, how many times does 4 go into 30? You got it. It's going to go 7 times. And 4 times 7 is 28. We do our subtraction. 30 minus 28 is 2. 4 does not go into 2, but we know I can add as many zeros after that decimal as I want, and it doesn't change the value of our 3. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to add another 0. And then following some long division rules that we learned a few years ago, I'm going to drop that 0 down and make it 20 at the bottom. How many times will 4 go into 20? You got it. It goes 5 times, and then I'm going to say 4 times 5 is 20. Do my subtraction. I end up with that beautiful 0, which lets me know that I'm finished. And so 3/4 is the same as 0.75. And that one is kind of easy because I know 4 quarters make $1. They make 1. If I have 3 quarters, I have 75 cents, which is exactly what we're looking at here. Now, this seems simple, and it truly is. However, there are some that, while they're not difficult, might be a little tricky. So let's take a look at one more example. Let's look at 1/3, which we know is the same as 1 divided by 3. So let's go ahead and set that up to do our division. We're doing 1 divided by 3. Just like before, 3 does not go into 1, so I'm going to add a decimal with a 0. I'm going to go ahead and bring that decimal to the top. And now we're asking ourselves, how many times will 3 go into 10? And it will go 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. I'm going to do my subtraction just like before. 10 minus 9 is 1. 3 does not go into 1. But I know I can add that other 0 and drop it down to make 10. 3 goes into 10 3 times again. 3 times 3 is still 9. Doing some subtraction, and I get 1. And I can bring another 0 down and say 3 goes into 10 3 times. That's 9. 1 left over. Bring down a 0. And hopefully you're catching on here that that's going to put me in this endless cycle. It's going to go on forever. It never, ever, ever ends. 1/3 as a decimal is a never-ending decimal. It's 0.3 repeating, meaning that 3 goes on forever. And the way we're going to write that is by putting a line over the digit that repeats. In this case, you can see it's over the 3. So 0.3 repeating is our way of saying it goes on forever. Okay, so when you do it a couple of times and you see yourself stuck in that pattern, go ahead and stop because you'll never finish. Put a line over those repeating digits and call it a day. All right, with that in mind, go ahead and pause the video and try the next few problems on your own and then come back and check your work. All right, hopefully you came up with these answers on those 6 problems. If you didn't, go back and check that division, figure out where you made your mistake. And as always, let's go ahead and end our video 1.7, converting fractions to decimals, where we're answering the essential question, how do I change a fraction into a decimal? Hopefully you have the answer to that now. We're going to give credit where credit is due to Amy Grosbeck, Amanda Newsom, and Bricks and Borders for their amazing fonts and clip arts. Mathematicians, go forth and be amazing.